I am so excited. And Olivia is going to be up here with me in just a minute. My name is Robert Nathan Allen. Everyone calls me RNA. I'm the founder of Little Herds, the nonprofit that is behind this whirlwind of amazing culinary collaborations, mad science, new flavors, new experiences. And we're excited today to introduce for the first time our pilot program, the Future Food Culinary Showcase. This is an idea that has been in the makes for the last year. We were very excited to connect with some local chefs that are really passionate about mentorship, about professional development, making sure that chefs who are coming up through the culinary system have support, have people that they can look up to, have people that they can go to and trust and confide in, because that's really important. As you may have heard earlier when I was talking with Olivia about the Nourish Foundation, the culinary space oftentimes is not a healthy space. And we need more chefs who recognize that it needs to do better. And the chefs that we have today, they are doing that. So I'm going to bring up our partner now. This is Carissa with Trendi. Trendi is our partner for the Culinary Showcase. They make incredible ingredients that our chefs have used. And I want to hand it over to Carissa to tell us a little bit more about not just the ingredients, but also the way that they are also doing this kind of collaborative event that fosters mentorship and professional development for students.
Hi, everyone. Yay, we're all here in Austin together and talking about my favorite topic, actually two topics, reducing food waste and feeding people with a mix of culinary innovation in there. Back in about 2 years ago, we started coming up with these powders and purees that were rescued from the farm level. I don't know how everybody is on their food waste stats and hunger stats, but we waste 2.5 billion tons of food every year, $340 billion at the farm level alone, and simply because of the way this food looks. And I don't know about you, but I think the question to the audience today is, since when did we start body shaming our fruits and veggies, right? But there's also the other side of that equation. Our company rescues food at the farm, but we also create really awesome products like these, where you have a lot of purees and powders that can then be rescued at the farm, but adopted and redistributed to restaurants and food service. However, this idea is great, but unless we have the future culinary leaders innovating with these products, that adoption rate is a lot slower. And our young generation is thinking more and more about the future of our food and sustainability. And this is why we started the Culinary Innovation Challenge at Trendi. So for the last 2 years, Trendi has run 7 culinary innovation challenges with 7 post-secondary institutions and community colleges across Canada. We had a quick chat a few weeks ago, and we said, well, why wouldn't we bring this to South by Southwest at the Future of Food and try one for the first time ever here in Austin in the United States?
Woo, 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 woo.
So I will pass it off to you to introduce everyone, and let's get this started.
Thank you, Carissa. Thank you, Trendi team. We are so excited. If you didn't listen to Iffy and you already ate it, then you know. But if you haven't and you're holding it, you're going to get to taste it real soon. First, I want to bring up our chef judges. While they're coming up on stage, I'm going to give you a little bit more of the background. We decided that we wanted to work with students in the local community. There are culinary students at the high school level. There are culinary students at the community college level. There are schools like the Escoffier School, the Culinary Institute of America. There are so many places where people can get that professional training, that education, that hand-on experience to go into the service and culinary industry. And those students can benefit greatly when they have the opportunity to work with chefs who have been through it, who know what it's like to open up a restaurant, who know what it's like to create dishes from new ingredients, who know what it's like to create a family in an environment that fosters that sort of mentorship. Like, I don't want to rehash that word too much, but it's a really powerful word. So I'm going to come down the line here. I'm going to ask each of our chefs to tell us a little bit about themselves, why, for them, this idea of mentorship and experimentation together with new ingredients is important. So first off, I'm pleased to introduce Chef Tiffany Derry from Dallas.
Hey, hey, hey! Tiffany here. I am a Southern girl, and I grew up, for the most part, in Beaumont, Texas. And so growing up in the city, I didn't get a lot of mentorship opportunities. For God's sake, I worked at IHOP. So there wasn't a lot of chefs that I knew that were doing creative things. So, just having to work through going into places where, one, people didn't look like me, cook like me, do any of those things was important to me so that the next generation coming up could see someone who looks like them, who also cooks the food that they cook and can be proud of the food they cook. And so I think mentorship across the board is important altogether. I think also that we have to start experimenting a little bit more with food. What's one culture that they may use as far as ingredients may not be known to others, and some people may see it as weird or crazy, and it's not. And I think if we can learn to accept and appreciate all food, I think we'll be in a better place.
All right, Chef Gerald Sombright.
Hello, Chef Gerald here. I am a resident of Florida, which is the Wild Wild West, but that's for another story. I think that cultures and I think that mentorship and food, getting new foods is so important because one of the reasons I became a cook is because it was new every day. I literally went to work every day and learned something about someone else's culture, someone else's ingredients, some things that were so different from anything I had ever experienced in my life. That is, I think, even to this day, I'm continuing to learn. And then as far as mentorship, I have copious amount of young men and women who look to me as their chef all over the country that send me all these text messages like, oh, you remember that time you said this and it impacted me? And I don't even remember those conversations. But I know that I was impactful in their lives and they became better cooks because of me. And I had that done for me, so I just want to pass it on to the next generation.
Love that, love that. All right, one of our local chefs here in Austin, Tavel, tell us about what you're doing.
Hey, y'all. I'm Tavel, Bristol-Joseph. We have the Emmer Hospitality Group. Mentorship is important for me because I believe that part of our history is storytelling. And by telling those stories and impacting the younger generation in whatever way possible, that determines what the future looks like and feels like. And so us being able to share our story and our journey is super important. And because of that, I started a scholarship, which is the Bristol-Joseph Scholarship Fund, that we mentor and pay for culinary students at the ACC. That's just part of what we do, so we live it every day. And when we talk about new foods, I think, like for myself, I look at it as it's not necessarily new food for me. I think the idea is to expand the current offering. Let's just say that. So being able to provide a space in which you can come and experience dishes or stories that you've never heard or tasted or felt before is important to us, and that's why we create concept that provokes that interest.
Love that, love that. All right, Rick, Chef Rick.
Yes,
tell us what you're doing.
My name is Rick Lopez. I'm the chef here at La Condesa, which is like 8 minutes from here. And we're talking about mentorship, and I take this approach of mentorship is kind of a two-way road right there, where I, in turn, love learning from all the young folks in the restaurant because you never want to feel like you're too old to hang with cool people and have a good time. And I don't want to be that person that's always on the porch saying, back in my day.
Why are you looking at me when you say that?
I haven't even looked at you
You're
once.
my friend.
We are friends. We are friends. But, I really want it to be this wholesome thing where we're throwing words out to each other, new ingredients out to each other, and having a good time. Because when I was coming up as a young cook, I loved learning. I would always pick up the shift. I would always try to work a little bit longer and do the best I could for myself first, and then try to do better for the team. And when you're looking at mentorship and feeling that mentorship, I love learning from everybody young because there's a different take that's going on. I'm not 22 anymore, and I never will be. My 22-year-old body life is different from what it is now, and I hope that we can continue to play that way too, because I still am learning and I love it. So, yeah.
Love that. Always be learning. All right, Andrew.
Hi, everybody. Andrew Zimmern. First of all, it's just an absolute thrill to share the stage with 4 culinarians who believe so strongly in what they do. All of you are friends of mine in real life, and it's wonderful to hear you talk about something that's been so powerful for me in my life that was not talked about 25 years ago ever in the context in which you 4 are talking about it. And that's a really sort of humbling thing to listen to and realize that we have a lot further to go, but look at what you all are saying and what you're representing. It just is an absolute thrill for me. I think I spend a lot of time mentoring, sit on a lot of boards, have a lot of scholarships, support a lot of shit. Go to andrewzimmern.com, look at the partner page. People tell me it's overwhelming, but it's my life. I think what's important here is that when I look at, I only have my own experience to share. Age 20 to 30, I worked in Michelin-starred restaurants with the best chefs in the world and was told I was a really, really good cook and keep my nose to the grindstone. And not because of that, but in parallel process, my life cratered and I entered a series of crises that pushed me to, a depth that I would never want another human being to experience ever. And I tried to take my own life, and I didn't die. And I woke up, and some friends found me and put me into a chemical dependency and treatment center, and I've stayed sober for the last 31 years, and I never looked back. And I've never gotten out of the food business. I've taken a paycheck from a restaurant since I was 14 years old, never stopped. Through college, through everything, through COVID stuff, all the other things that you see on the outside of my life, I still operate, own, and partners in, live in and through restaurants and food and being of service to people that way. So what's different in the last 30 versus those 16, 18 that were just so awful is that I learned to say the words, I don't know how to do this, can you help me? And you can say that 100 different ways, right, in all kinds of different styles, but to actually, to say the words out loud, I don't know how to do this, can you? I still do that every single day. I learn from everybody all the time, and the minute you cease to be teachable, you cease to be relevant, because it's just me and my ideas. Me and my own ideas never created an original fucking thing in my life. But when I talk to colleagues and I see what they're doing, then I'm like, wow, I have a twist on that. Or I could, wow, what is my food? What's the food of my people? What can I bring to this, not take from it? What can I bring to this? And I think it's that mindset that, someone sat at the end of my bed and said to me, take the cotton out of your ears and put them in your mouth and watch how other people do it and ask questions and be empathetic and don't think you know everything or have all the answers. And the minute I did that, my life changed. So, why do I do it? Because I want to change the life for other people. It's a debt to society that I don't think any of us as human beings who have any kind of platform, and I've been blessed to get a really big one, can ever take for granted. And so in giving back, I'm actually trying to create the life that I wanted for myself all along. And I'm deeply, deeply committed to it. So I wasn't kidding. Go to andrewzimmern.com, go to our partners page, pick a partner and send it to everyone on your email list or whatever. Put it on blast, because there's some great nonprofits that we do a lot of work with.
All right. Now, I'm going to pass the mic over to Chef Olivia so that she can tell you a little bit about the process behind the scenes working with the students and the chefs.
Well, much in the spirit of what Chef Andrew just talked about, being teachable and being humble and being empathetic. we found some great partners that were willing to take some students under their wing and work together on a dish. So we have Aaron Bastias and we have Chef Kevin Pacheco from Olame, who mentored Aaron through this dish, where they were challenged to incorporate some of our sponsored dishes and definitely use Trendi in a very new way. And I love what they came up with, so I can't wait to see what they're going to bring up. And at the end, I will, put myself out there and show them what I did with a couple dishes just for the judges, because I heard you talk about that shrimp, and we're very lucky to have gotten atarraya shrimp for you to try today. First up, let's go ahead and let Aaron and Chef Kevin come up and talk about it.
Hi, my name's Kevin. I work at Olame. I'm a sous chef over there. We do some Southern cuisine, fine dining. If you're ever in the downtown area and want some Southern cuisine, please come check it out. I had the pleasure of mentoring Aaron here with the luxury of using a lot of really nice, sustainably sourced items. So I will let Aaron tell you what we've created.
Thank you, Chef.
Yeah.
So, what you see here is a kelp and mushroom salad that's been tossed in a gochujang and sesame seed oil vinaigrette. It's got the Tyndall, am I pronouncing that right?
Yep,
the Tyndall plant-based chicken, which we have coated in a teriyaki sort of sauce made by Chef here. It's been topped with fried rice noodle and a blend of green onion, powdered green onion, mushroom, and the mango powder. I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you.
You're doing great. No, stay up. So each of our chefs are going to take this. They're going to have a bite. They're going to give some thoughts. They're going to give some feedback. And we're all going to hear a little bit more about what you just tried, what they're trying. Feel free to talk about what you did. Once you're done, I'll take it. All right, and if you want to kick it off?
Sure, why not? First of all, great use of textures and flavors. Contrast in food is what makes for excellence, right? Assuming anything tastes good, temperature contrast, texture contrast, flavor contrast, the more contrast you can put into a dish without overloading it, there's that balance, is all about great eating, in my opinion. The affinity that mushrooms have for seaweed is one of my favorite combinations. I do a lot with mushrooms and seaweed, so you had me right away with that. Tyndall, plant-based chicken company, is also a partner of mine. No connection here at all. So I happen to love what they represent and stand for. And you actually did something really, really nice and tricky with it, which you were able to give it some texture by how you treated the chicken. And the sauce was lovely. I think you put that plate of food in front of someone and say, this is the future of food. We're using some traditional Asian flavors, and we're going to spotlight a vegan chicken product with seaweed grown in an aquaculture system. To me, is what our future plate looks like. We need to be celebrating food like that. Very successful. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, I was just saying that's great. You see, he said it all. The dish was really good. Very well balanced, seasoned well. Great texture. Yeah, I'm a fan.
I thought the seaweed, and maybe it's me, felt like greens in a way. Like they had this a little bit of chew, and it felt like it had this cooked longer kind of feel. And I really, really enjoyed sort of the nuttiness in it. And I think adding that texture on the chicken and the texture on the top was sort of the key, because if not, things can feel kind of soft, but you had so much texture going on that it complemented each other. And, you know, a lot of times when we have dishes like that, it seems to be a little more spicy, and I think that, you know, showing some restraint in that way was really smart.
I was at a seaweed tasting, and you were on a television in the lounge, and we had to go turn it down because I was getting distracted listening to you talk.
No, you were just saying I'm loud.
No.
Just say it.
No.
Just say it.
But knowing what you like and like to cook, I was actually thinking when it came, I thought to myself, well, Tiffany's going to really love this because they are like greens. And when you blend them together, that chew, you can also cook them for a while. They don't just fall apart and disappear. So they absorb flavors really, really well.
I think that the texture, everybody keeps saying it, the texture from all of the things were pretty mind-blowing. When you put all these things together, you would imagine that the mushrooms and the seaweed would resemble each other on the palate, but they didn't. They really stood out to be their own thing. So you are extremely successful, and I couldn't really tell that was fake chicken.
Good stuff, right?
No, I thought it was genius because you can feel the collaboration with Olame, the Southern restaurant, these flavors being dynamic and new, and then, yeah, it felt like eating greens, and then that little piece of, like, meaty texture felt like maybe biting into a piece of pork, and then that crunchy outer part of it, so it was a good song that you wrote. I thought it was awesome.
Thank you so much.
I like that.
Oh, thank you so much for this opportunity. Appreciate the feedback. And special thanks to Chef O for bringing me here, and Chef KP, who has been an honor and a pleasure to work with. Thank you.
That was awesome. I'm so proud of Erin. She's part of the Nourish Foundation's first cohort of students that will be getting their certification and will be able to go off and work wherever they want without staging for free. Woo! So that, right? So up next, we have Scott Creamer, and we have Frank Harris from La Condesa, who mentored Scott through this dish. Very excited to see what they made.
Thank you. And thanks, Frank, for all his help. So I am Scott Creamer. I'm a culinary student at ACC. And what we did today was I was thinking about summertime coming up. So I wanted to use a watermelon. I wanted to make a summer dish. And we treated it similar to sashimi. It's a little bit like tuna. So it's marinated in the Trendi mango tango, which had some similar flavors to what I was using in my marinade, and it lightened it up a little bit. It's finished with sesame seeds, black ants, and radish microgreens.
And what did you say the red thing is in the center of the plate?
It's watermelon.
Thank you. Just want to make sure people understood it's not salmon.
I have to say the ants taste better than they look. You know.
It's the formic acid in the ants.
Really, really good balance. This actually does eat closer to sashimi than it does to watermelon, which is always a delight and just showcases such a level of technique. It's acidic, crunchy, sourness going on. It's a really, really delicious dish, especially for the fact that I'm eating ants. I have, but different, very different. Tell us what that is.
Want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. It was the the summer thing going on. What you're thinking for? Well, it's hot today, but it'll be cold tomorrow. But the summer situation of the watermelon sitting out a little too long, the ants kind of taking over, getting on there. So I see what you did with that one. And then the texture. I think you said you baked it. It's got that texture of like sashimi, like fish. So when you bite into it, it's watermelon at first, and then the texture is almost like fish. But I think my favorite part is the ants crawling on the watermelon. That's all I'm seeing right now. So summertime, yeah.
Storytelling.
It is an incredible story. If I could just change one thing about the dish, it's don't be so stingy with the ants. But I mean that as a culinarian. So you heard about the acid that's in ants. So it's one chemical step to the left to lemon juice. Okay. So ants, many species. Please do not eat red ones unless you cook them. But ants are used in cooking all over the world, said the person who has some experience eating bugs. And they are fantastic, ground, toasted, done anything to. So I just wanted more of that lemon flavor. I wanted more of that crunch because they're dry, they're crunchy. And that is the future of food. And for anyone who's been to a fancy pants restaurant and had compressed watermelon or compressed melon, you can get the same effect by actually cooking it. So I really like that you did that and didn't, vacuum seal it and get the same effect that way. I thought it was a very smart dish. And I cannot underscore what everyone else said about the ants on watermelon. That storytelling is, you just can't do enough of it on a plate for me. So, very successful. More ants, though. More ants.
Thank you for letting me eat ants the second time in my life. That was delicious. I think that, yes, as far as where the texture of the watermelon and the acidity that you got from the ants, and it was also seasoned very well. That's a big thing for me. And also the presentation, I thought it was beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you.
For sure. I think presentation was minimalist, right? Like you were like, I'm going to give you a few ingredients. You're going to enjoy them. It's going to be about this. I agree with Andrew, a little bit more of either the ants or a little acidity just to pick it up. I think you could have gotten it from the ants, but I love that there were also the sesame seeds on there because you wanted a little bit of that crunch. And I think, sometimes when we do watermelon, it's like you go a second too long and it's like limp, meaning it's not crunchy. And so what you want is to make sure that you have that balance of the crunch with a little bit of softness, which gave us the feel of like you're actually eating sushi. So I thought you did that very smart, and I thought that was a very good presentation of saying, I'm giving you ants on watermelon, you're going to eat it, and you're going to like it.
Thank you.
Nice job.
And I'll be behind you with this for the...
Okay. Oh, look at this.
All right. So just as a little bonus, I wanted to showcase this beautiful agua blanca shrimp. It is a Pacific white shrimp that is actually farmed, believe it or not, terrestrially in a shipping container. Super automated, very clean. I can't wait to see how y'all feel about it. I made sure to keep it very simple. I'm from Nayarit, Mexico, and we eat shrimp so much. So if you can get me to like something that's farmed, because I'm like, no. Where's this from? My waters. What? This is the cleanest shrimp I've ever had, and I really want to share this with you.
And where's it grown? Where's
Mexico.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and the founders are here somewhere. This one's in Indianapolis? Oh, okay. Sorry.
I thought that's
My bad.
the shrimp that we talked about earlier, which is super cool.
It is the cleanest. So I wanted to keep it clean. I did an aguachile and a little bit of yuzu pearl on top, and it's sitting on top of Trendi's guava puree.
I just asked if it was real shrimp, and they're laughing at me. I wasn't sure, Indianapolis, and I wasn't sure. You shouldn't assume around here. Thank you. Beautiful presentation.
I'm a sucker for molecular gastronomy. When used correctly.
Come back up so they can talk to you.
Oh, did the It's the silence that gets you.
I love it. It's so you said aguachile. So it feels like, you know, the aguachile is like a big old plate you get. You sit down, you get your beverage, and it's like a big old plate of shrimp, right? So you can almost feel the whole plate in that one bite, where it's about to get too acidic because you put too much lime on it, and then the shrimp sweetens it out a little bit more. So that's what keeps you going back. It's not the heat, but it's that like acidic punch on the tip that keeps everything going. So I thought that was cool. Like in one bite, you could get all that flavor.
Thank you, Chef.
Beautiful. Yeah, it was nice. That was cool.
Okay. I thought the shrimp was beautifully cooked. Meaning, you know, sometimes, and it depends on what dish you're going for and what you want at the end. If you want a fully raw shrimp, if you want, you know, really something that feels like it's been sitting in lime. But I thought the texture was very easy to eat. I did eat the whole bite in one, so I really know. And I thought the acidity was a little more in the forefront than I was thinking it would be. And a little, like something else to, maybe a little olive oil or something else to like kind of round it off, I think would be great. But I really, really enjoyed the freshness and the cleanness of the shrimp.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's, I second that. I think the shrimp was really clean. I actually, the part of that dish I enjoyed was the pearls. I thought it was beautifully done. Good texture on those. If I'm going to critique anything, it'd probably be I would want a little bit more salt, but I thought the dish was great.
Thank you.
My fork broke, so I had to eat it all in one bite. So pardon me for using my hands. I thought that the shrimp itself is just mind-blowingly delicious. I could not believe that those shrimp were grown in a shipping container. That really blows my mind. For something to taste like that, you search for things like that as a chef to be able to put on a plate and to be able to get that level of consistency that every shrimp kind of eats the same way. And you didn't give us too many things to overpower that shrimp, and you didn't give us too few things to not accentuate that shrimp. You kind of hit it right on the money. And interestingly enough, Tavel and Tiffany are both saying two critiques that I would have is just fat and salt. But in any shape, form, or fashion, you wanted to add it. Because I would love you to tell more of your story.
Sure. Yeah, I can totally take that. And I think I was trying to be a little bit authentic and not fusion up my Mexican stuff too much. My mom definitely, we've been playing with changing her ceviche with a little olive oil here and there, a little oleo verde, something. And she'll be like, it's not in the recipe, but okay. But I understand, you know, the roundness.
It's tricky. It's tricky because traditionally an aguachile is also going to have fish or oysters or other things in it that have fats that are naturally occurring in them, so that the acidity and the salinity that you're adding there in your seasoning, the chef's choice, that you don't need to add anything there. I think what's interesting, and it's why it's fun to play with new ingredients, is that farm-raised shrimp is a very lean shrimp. It still has naturally occurring fats in it. It's a great shrimp, but it's leaner than other shrimp that you might purchase. Yeah. So I think it's working with an ingredient. And this is what's goes back to what we're talking about being teachable. Like there's a new ingredient that you have to sort of work with a bunch of times before you get it where you want it to be.
And you can make that same recipe with other shrimp that you're used to and would have a completely different
Way
flavor.
different, 100%.
And I think that's the beauty of finding new products, understanding, you know, the flavors you're going to get, what they ate, the waters they were in, like all of that matters. Yeah. And I think it's pretty awesome.
That's right. But you know, we talked about this earlier, and it's worth repeating. You know, shrimping is responsible for 50% of the destruction of mangrove forests around the world. And they sequester, I think, 15, 16 times the amount of carbon than the rainforest does. So it's a very important thing to be farming shrimp. So if we have a resource that tastes that good, that's what we need to be leaning into. And the fact that it's bringing jobs to a city like Indianapolis in the seafood industry in a landlocked state, right? When we start talking about the intersection of food and tech and why we're all here at South by Southwest and why we're here talking about the future of food, That's the future of food,
Yeah,
right?
Cleaner, it's creating jobs in this country.
Yep.
And as somebody who works with the luxury tier and high net worth individuals, they always want like the most expensive, the coolest, the whatever. And so for a long time, we're flying in a lot of food. We can stop that. We can literally stop that now. Yeah. And that's amazing.
Nice job. Really good.
Thank you, chefs.
All right. So that was our last dish. Before we let y'all off the stage, I want to ask one more question because we're Little Herds. It's the future of food. We've talked about a lot of different foods today. I want each of y'all to share with us either one story about a dish that's really important from your childhood, because we've had a lot of conversations about the impact of food and nutrition for kids and being able to grow, or one new ingredient that you've experienced or are excited for people to experience, and it may be something you tried today, it may be something that we didn't even have here today. So you can either think back or you can think forward. Does anybody want to go first and be on the spot?
I'll start it off. I'm going to go back. This is so ridiculous. The thing that the recipe or the dish that stands out to me the most is something from my childhood, which is Rice Krispie treats. It is the first dish that I have ever anticipated cooking. Prior to the moments that we had cell phones, we used to entertain ourselves with the back of the cereal box. There was sometimes there was like a fun puzzle. There was like all the stuff you could do on the back of the cereal box. And one thing stood out to me, that there was a recipe on the back of the cereal box. So I requested from my grandmother, the next time you go to the grocery store, can you please buy me 2 pounds of butter and a pack of marshmallows so we can make Rice Krispie treats. It took, I don't know, 2, 3, I asked her more than one time, right? Because she didn't really want to buy it. But I remember in my mind that I was so small that I had to use a milk crate to stand next to the stove to cook this dish with this matriarch of my family who's like coming from work in the hospital, in her uniform, that's just like being like, oh my God, I can't believe you want to make this, but you my grandkid, I'm going to let you stand at the stove and make this with you. To that day and now, consistently, when I'm somewhere and they have a homemade Rice Krispie treat, I always purchase it because it makes me think of her. So,
have you done a fancy Rice Krispie treat?
Yeah, we used to do like butterscotch and miso. And
Togarashi. I'll go forward. If we want to have food in our future, we better start eating more foods, water-based foods that come from rivers, lakes, streams, ponds, and oceans. And we better start farming them on land and at sea and in shipping containers. And so, I just would point to the seaweed that we ate. I would point to the shrimp that we ate. I've been a broken record about this for now 16 years, that I've been working on creating an environment in which aquaculture can flourish. We're facing down the barrel of a gun with $4.5 trillion a year spent on fighting processed food-related diseases. Again, I will insist, do not call them food-related diseases. They're processed food-related diseases. A tomato never gave anybody diabetes. And I think that we all can develop a taste for other foods. I'm living proof of it in my own life. So I know that it is possible for those foods to be our salvation as our planet grows, as we become more compromised by climate crisis and conflict around the world. Our supply chains are going to become wobblier. And so I would insist that you start to utilize these foods that have been showcased not just today, but yesterday, tomorrow, and ongoing, and follow these panelists and follow what RNA is doing at Little Herds and what all of our sponsors are doing, because that is going to be the secret to keeping our species alive. And I'm not being overly dramatic. I am simply speaking the truth. So please get on that bus with me. We're headed to the promised land.
Yeah, I'll go back too, and I love the story about the cereal box and everything because the cell phone, whatever. But we'll go back to Brussels sprouts for me, and it wasn't anything my mom cooked. It was one of my tias that made it for us one night, and it was a plate of like enchiladas and then boiled Brussels sprouts with salt, and I ate them because they were new, but I didn't like them. It's being polite, so I wanted to always have better vegetables. So that always stuck with me. And back when I grew up, there was vegetables in cans and green beans and spinach and all that stuff. So now when I think of this Brussels sprout, my young girls now, 7 and 3, eat Brussels sprouts in the house, eat broccoli, eat cauliflower, roasted really hard, just to the, almost burnt, and they're really good with salt and lemon on them. And I want my girls to eat like that so that maybe they can make something better in the future. Hopefully not be chefs, but make it better in the future for themselves. I say, don't do it. I say, don't do it, man. Do something better. But that Brussels sprout was kind of like the inception of vegetables. And I love vegetable cookery, and I love treating them like a piece of meat in the most positive way because they're really delicious. And I think of the farmers that make them and the rainwaters that hit those grounds. So the Brussels sprout for me is my thing, I guess. Yeah.
That's awesome. I think the dish for me, it's called pepper pot. So it's the national dish of Guyana. And essentially what it is, it's a meat stew. And there's an ingredient in there that's the most important ingredient of that dish, which is cashrip. And cashrip is reduced yucca juice with cinnamon, some chilies, and some sugar. It's reduced all the way down until the starches kind of turns into sugars, and it's like a molasses flavor. So this stew is like this dark, rich, sweet, spicy, savory stew. And you would only eat this dish around Christmas time. So growing up in Guyana, I remember being a kid, and there was 2 smells that we always got around the holiday time. That was floor polish, because my grandmother had to polish the floors, and you couldn't walk on it until Christmas Day. So I grew up understanding what that smell is like. And then on Christmas morning, you would smell pepper pot, because you would eat that with homemade bread. And you can't eat it the night before. You can only eat it the day of Christmas and after. So after we opened Kanji, I was like, I want to eat pepper pot whenever I want to, because I don't want to wait until one day out of the year to do this. So that is on our menu, but pepper pot is that dish where both is something that provokes a very meaningful space in my heart, and that cashrip, that to me is an ingredient that you can put in so many stews, both savory and sweet applications, that I think is really special.
There's only one dish for me. What am I saying? Gumbo. I love gumbo. Like, no joke. Like, I love it. Like, in my household, my mom would make gumbo 2 to 3 times, like, in a month. Like, we ate it. She would whip it up. Like, I don't even know how she would whip it up so quick. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized other people eat gumbo, but it tastes different. It tastes different everywhere you go. And so, my family's from Baton Rouge, and a lot of times, like, even just the thickness and the color and everything would be different. And then you go somewhere else, and then the color would be light. And I'm like, what's that? And they're like, gumbo. I'm like, that's not gumbo. But what I've learned to appreciate is the different types of gumbo out there. And even though it's not always what I grew up with, it still can be delicious. So similar to Tavel, when I opened Root Southern table, since the day we opened, we've had gumbo on the menu, and it's probably the most talked about dish there. But for me, it just reminds me of my roots. It is my family. It is my love. It is how I share my love with everyone. So when they come, they order it, they're like, either it creates a memory for them or it takes them back to a memory. And I think when we can tie those things together, no matter what we put in it, it's just a beautiful thing. And who knew that one simple, humble bowl of essentially thickened stew would create all of that and take them back to the I had someone cry sitting there at the table, and I think that right there was it just shows how powerful food is. And when we're doing what we're supposed to be doing and what we love in the right space at the right time, it can be so impactful. So I hope that you all figure out what that is to you. For me, it's my gumbo.
Best gumbo I've ever had.
I would like to say one thing. I was in Tavel's restaurant last night, and I had a dessert with that syrup in it. And I am very, very certain that I'll be thinking about it for quite some time. It's just mind-blowing. And that lends to new ingredients. Very old ingredient for you, very new ingredient for me, which was pretty awesome.
Thank you.
Let's give a big round for our chefs. We appreciate y'all being here so much. Thank you all. We're going to get a picture, then we're going to have a few more discussions. Stick around. We've got some more conversations coming up. Let's get a picture with our chefs.